Hey Slingers, it's me, Kevin Tomlinson, the Wordslinger. Thanks for tuning in to another week of the Wordslinger Podcast on YouTube. Today I'm going to be talking with Dale Roberts, and if you've been on YouTube for a while and you're actually a self-published author or you have an interest in indie publishing, you've probably heard of his YouTube channel, Self-Publishing with Dale. We're going to be talking to him a little bit about his career, about the YouTube channel, about all the things that are going on with him and his business, and you're not going to want to miss any of that. So stick around. Thanks again for tuning in, and hang out afterwards. I got a little bit of housekeeping, quick wrap-up you're going to want to be there for. So see you there.
It's the Wordslinger Podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented pants optional, Kevin Tomlinson, the Wordslinger.
Wordslinger.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, this is a rare circumstance because I actually have someone on the show who was technically on the show once before, but only as an audio interview. And since I've switched formats, I wanted to bring him back on because, you know, he himself is a YouTube professional at this point. I'm talking to Dale Roberts. He's an author and a YouTube content creator. And a growing close personal friend of mine at this point. Probably one of the biggest Draft Digital fans I've seen online in a while. So
It's true, actually. And thanks for the friendship thing, man. I almost like slightly wept there. But the question is, since I put together the Draft Digital playlist, do I still get my kiss? Huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh?
Right on the lips, man. Right on the lips. You and I hang out. We'll have to get together. We're gonna have to do some IRL type hanging out at some point. We're too similar not to, man. That's just all there's to it. We're gonna have to.
It's bound to happen, especially for as often as my wife and I travel about. Because I mean, you know, it's funny. This profession, and I'm not talking about YouTube, I'm talking about indie publishing in general, has afforded me more things than I could have ever expected. You know, you always kind of have these pipe dreams and you think to yourself, well, I'm going to make X amount of dollars per month so I can, live on my own terms.
Right.
It finally came to us over the past, year to 2 years. And my wife and I are kind of like, well, what do we do with it? Well, we don't want fancy cars. We don't need a mansion. We don't even need a fancy house. What we like to do is travel. And that's one of the nice things is if we feel like it, we just go, hey, you want to go visit Kevin Tomlinson?
Yeah.
Sure. Let's just book a trip and we'll go and do that. So for instance, next month, my mother, I just said, hey, would you like us to come visit you for the holidays? She said, yeah, sure. So of course we booked the flight and we're ready to go and visit my mom because why not?
Yeah. That's one of the that's one of the things that has always appealed to me and to Kara about this flexibility. Now I'm working on getting her to be just as flexible, but we already travel quite a bit as it is, and that was kind of a I don't know. It was a phase of our life that we wanted to enter into, starting a few years back now. And it's been pretty incredible. And you gain so much from it, being able to travel like that. You pick up on so many new things, new resources, new friends, So
yeah, it's so interesting in the age that we're in and the technology that we have available and the instant gratification that we're allowed to. So building relationships on social media, be it Facebook, be it Twitter, or even things like YouTube, it's just so incredible. But you can't beat meeting a person in person. And that's one of the things I just really love. So not too long ago, I went out to Vid Summit in Los Angeles, and I got to meet many people that I had built relationships via the interwebs through video chats and through just talking to each other. And it was so cool to be able to hug people and to be able to shake their hand and to be able to break bread with them. So it's just, there's something you just can't beat. The experience of traveling and meeting person to person and being able to kind of grow together. So, man, boy, we're already starting off into our rabbit trailing ways.
So, we had you on, and I'm not even going to attempt to remember any of the conversation we had before. I didn't bother going back and listening. I wanted this to be a fresh interview. So why don't we start just by talking about, you're an author and a YouTube creator, but tell me about the author side of your business at this point.
The author side of my business, primarily, I do a lot of heavy lifting in the fitness genre, health, fitness, and dieting underneath the Dale L. Roberts brand. And I got into this really based on just a whim, based on a challenge that was put out to me by my wellness coach at my 9-to-5 job that I had previously had, my last job, actually, to be straightforward. And I'd always wanted to be a writer since I was a kid, but I had always thought about fiction writing, not nonfiction.
Right.
And this wellness coach kept challenging me. She would say, okay, well, let's see if we can track your diet for the next month. Let's see if we can get you to do 1,000 squats at a time. And and eventually she's like, I can't challenge you anymore. She's like, what would be awesome is if you wrote a book about all the knowledge you have in health, fitness, and dieting and put it out there. And I said, yeah, and I think you probably can relate to this too, Kevin, where you get to the point where you say, I'm going to write a book.
Right.
But you just keep putting it off and you keep putting it off and you keep putting it off. Well, finally, when I get challenged and I accept the challenge, I almost get obsessed. I become just razor focused. So I got up every morning. I think it was easily for about 3 months straight for about an hour to 2 hours at a time before my wife would even be up. It was like 4 a.m. I'd be up. And I would crank out 2 hours of writing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was literally doing the Pantser methodology, which these days I'm a plotter. And I know it kind of sounds crazy coming from a nonfiction writing. What's that?
I don't hold it against you, man.
I'm glad you don't. One of my favorite writers, Stephen King, is a pantser. And I love his writing. But I find that when I am a type of person that you got to kind of say, okay, here's what you need to do, and here are the steps that you can do it in. So that way I'm staying on task. As you can already tell, and I'm sure some of your viewers can tell, I've got some serious ADHD going on, and I don't medically take care of that. So setting things out and getting it in order in a list type fashion really helps me out. So that's why I'm a bit of a plotter. But the Pantser methodology got my first book done. And as some people would say, and I believe this holds true, your first book is always your worst book. And I got to say this, that book was awful. And for those of you that supported me and purchased the book, I want to say thank you for indulging me. And the fact that a lot of the people that actually got it overlooked the fact that, yeah, you ready for this? I didn't use an editor. It was awful. It was terrible. And as soon as I did my first book with editing, I could see the huge, huge difference between a book that you just throw out on the market and a book that's actually professionally done and has an editor that will go through and correct your mistakes and tell you where you have opportunities for growth. So that's how I got into the business. And you ready for this? Folks, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't just put in your 30-day notice at your job. By the way, this was an amazing job. It was a very, I wouldn't say cush job. It wasn't an easy job by any stretch, but I got to play with seniors for a living.
Yeah.
I was an activities director in an assisted living community, and I've been doing that job for nearly 20 years. That's right, getting to play with seniors, take them out shopping, go to movies, visit them room to room. There were so many things in that career that was amazing, and that allowed me that. And I just said, oh, wow, well, I can sell books. This will support us. So I literally put my 30-day notice without any proof, real proof of concept, and said, I'm going to become a writer. And there is the long way to kind of tell you the Reader's Digest version of my story.
Yeah. No, that's, it's funny because as soon as you have any sort of modicum of success in this business, your first instinct is to pull up stakes and and hit the road, basically. So that's good advice, really. But how did it work out? I mean, did you recover from your? I mean, you sort of leapt early, then you had to make it work.
Let's put it this way: I at least had a safety net. I had already had some savings set up. I had a 401k plan that I could use as a reserve. And already my wife was out of her job and was working on a very successful Amazon FBA business where she was sourcing products in different physical stores. and sending them on in there. And that was doing really well. So I just said to her, look, while we're getting me up and rolling the self-publishing industry, why don't we do this? I'll help you out part-time. I'll do all your lackey stuff. I will essentially just be your assistant. So it was actually kind of a fun business at first, but eventually it became a little tiresome because there would be days we'd be out for 8 to 16 hours at a time going from store to store to store and sourcing these items. And in the meantime, I had to come back home and continue to try to write my next book and keep doing this. Well, as you can imagine, only having one book on the market, and I think I ended up trickling out 1 or 2 books thereafter, and the year after, actually half year after, I think I fired off more into the second year. But in any event, it wasn't supporting us. And if I were to be really frank with you, when it came to paychecks, I would say I was lucky if I was breaking $200 to $300 per month.
Right.
It was really bad. So we got to the point of ramen noodles and frozen vegetables for every single meal.
Perfect.
It was,
someone who writes about health.
Right, exactly. And that was actually, it's funny. Did you talk to my wife? She used to, give me a hard time about the ramen noodles. And I was just like, what alternative do we have?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
The Amazon FBA business was doing really well, but it was feast or famine. It's like being a real estate agent. Sure. Sometimes you're going to have some great up months, and then other months it's going to be down months. The problem is we weren't used to being entrepreneurs. So we were burning through money quicker than we were making it. So it got to the point where we kind of had to say, stop. All right, if we want this self-publishing business to work, we want this Amazon FBA business to work, we got to start managing our finances. We got to start looking at how to better ourselves. And I think it was into 2015 when I finally just threw my hands up. I was like, the self-publishing business, I want to do it. I want to make it work. And this is when I had reached out to Jason Brock. I found him through YouTube and have since become, good close friends. But at that time, he was heading out to Chicago for a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within a conference. And he said, who wants to meet us up here? And I'm like, yeah. So my wife and I flew out to Chicago, met him in person, and we sat with him for an entire day. And he was able to go through my catalog of books and say, okay, here's where you're going wrong, and here's your areas of improvement. And I said, I want you to coach me. And I just paid for him one-on-one sessions until finally he just got sick of it. And he's like, look, I like taking your money, but you don't have to keep paying me, man. And I asked him later, I'm like, why did you do that? He's like, well, you just ended up teaching me things eventually. Because once again, I'm an obsessive guy, and this is why I do the YouTube channel. And a lot of people are like, well, you're the smartest guy in self-publishing. I don't know about that. I'm just the most obsessive guy in self-publishing. I don't think you're going to find anybody else that is so passionate about this business and learning it and trying to perfect it and then spreading exactly what I've learned in the process.
Yeah. No, and by the way, the stuff that you put out there is very useful. Like, I refer people to your channel quite a bit. So it's very, and that's kind of what I do. Like, I find resources and connect people to resources. So thank you for having such a valuable resource with the indie publishers out there.
Well, I appreciate it too. It's funny. I think you and I function very much in the same aspect, that we get joy out of delivering great, relevant content to people that are willing to learn.
Right.
And that's why. So I don't have an issue with networking. I've introduced you to numerous people, and of course, people to you. And it's trying to grow this self-publishing community. And I believe that this business is awesome. And is it easy? No. But is it awesome? Absolutely. Anybody that wants to argue with me, hey, you're probably in the wrong business if you don't think this business is awesome. Go ahead and, I don't know, flip some burgers, or, heck, someone needs to be a greeter at the local Walmart. It's not me playing down on that either.
Right. And here's what's funny to me. Even in my worst months, and I don't make quite the money I would like to make. It has fluctuated quite a bit over the years. And right now I'm doing okay, but I'm not doing what I'm not hitting the level I want. I'm working on that, right? But here's the thing. In my worst years, I was making more than I would have made minimum wage, and I still dictated my own hours. So for me, this is the business. Like, this is the one to be in, because it takes me spending time, like I'll literally pick up my iPhone now and write a few chapters or whatever. Like I can actually produce with nothing but this device now, right? So to me, that's the sign of the best of all worlds for me. Like that's the business I want to be in, where I can control my own fate. I might have to lower my overhead, but it's pretty cool. You get the books. What was the turning point? I mean, was that your turning point when you met up with what was his name again?
It was Jason Brock, and Jason's just a tremendous guy. He's not so much involved in the business anymore. I think that he knows that it requires so much more work, and I don't think it's what he's willing to invest his time in anymore.
Yeah.
And I'd say that my turning point was it was sometime in 2015. And he said to me, I think it was after the Chicago trip, we were having a one-on-one video chat, and gave me exactly. I said to him, look, mold me. I'm your student. I'm paying you good money to make this happen. So whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do it down to the T. And I did. And there was no black hat tactics. It was really just, putting your nose down to the grindstone and just getting it done. And he said, do this, X, Y, and Z, and you will see. If you listen to me, it'll take you about 6 months, possibly longer. But if you really focus and you hustle hard over the next 6 months, you're going to get your breakthrough. You just see. And I swear to you, it was 6 months to the day that I had this book I put out. And oddly enough, it was a compilation of my best workouts into something called an Ultimate Home Workout Plan bundle. And I just bundled it together. And to be honest with you, I didn't think of this as an individual book. It was just kind of a one-off type thing. And I thought to myself, well, maybe it'll bring me a little extra income. I was needing a little extra scratch at that time. And boom, that thing launched up into the upper echelon. It broke into the top, categories. Broke into the top best-selling categories of its kind, and started hitting number one. And I was really, really happy. And I started to kind of go, wow, this is working. My email list was growing. I was starting to get, reviews without having to look for them. It was amazing. And I said to him, I'm like, man, I can't thank you enough. You were right. And he's like, of course I am, ever the humble guy he was.
That's cool. So, okay, you've got your publishing empire on the grow. When does YouTube start to factor in?
YouTube came in after an interview with the gentleman named D1 Bainey. D1 saw some of my breakthrough success and said, and he saw me doing my whole struggling and everything else. And said, I'd love to get you on my show so you can share just a little bit of your struggles and how you had your breakthrough. And it was after that interview that some people said, why don't you have your own YouTube channel? And I was like, yeah, I should have my own YouTube channel.
Because lots of work, that's why.
Yes. And I'll hopefully summarize that here in just a moment. I had my own fitness channel. And truth be told, I feel like there is just an abundance, and I mean just an overabundance actually, of fitness channels and dudes not wearing their shirts and showing off their abs, and you're going to be able to get like this if you just take this supplement. And for some reason, the fitness business has never resonated with me when it comes to YouTube content creation. And I still have that video channel up there, but I haven't messed with it because I said, what I could do is I could teach people exactly what, or for that matter, not even teach, share what I've learned in the self-publishing business, because maybe there's somebody out there who's having to scarf down ramen noodles and frozen vegetables, or even worse yet, maybe cans of just tuna, day in and day out. And I wanted to get it to where I could get people around those pitfalls just to avoid those potholes. That way they could really increase that. And, there's sometimes you'll see some of these channels that typically will give you these tips and they say, well, I'll give you the rest of the tips if you invest in my coaching.
Join my course or
and hey, that's great. I'm glad that they do that. And I'm sure, and right now I'm in the development of doing an actual course and doing a coaching program, but I don't want the people that can't afford it to go without, because let's just face it, I've been there. I burnt the boats a little too soon. And I got to the point where I was really fearful that if I didn't do something drastic and soon, I was going to have to return to the 9-to-5 job with my head down and really regretting that I actually didn't go all out in this business. So that's why I think I'm probably, sometimes these videos that I'm putting them out, I'm putting it out to my former self. And that's why I'm so transparent about some of the issues. Everything from, when I had hired a ghostwriter for a pen name, had plagiarized work. And I discovered this. And I wanted to share that because I didn't want people to go through the same issues that I did. Everything from hiring on Fiverr to what are the best resources and what are the least good resources for self-publishing. So that's what drives and compels me forward. And then I started to really think about this as well. And I think you and I started kind of conversing back and forth about the time that I started really going knee deep in this business.
Right.
I started focusing on really putting out great quality content and getting some other experts and people that were experienced in the self-publishing industry, so I could really increase the learning that people could get from this channel. So I can always say something, but if I bring a Kevin Tomlinson on, or if I bring a Tim Knox on, or if I bring a Carla Marie on, they're going to bring their expertise, and they're also going to bring their unique backstory that hopefully people can identify with and start to develop and grow and build their self-publishing business as time goes on.
Right. Yeah, no, we do have similar origin stories, I think, as far as the media goes. I think I always tell people, one of the reasons I started the Wordslinger podcast was basically so that I had an excuse to talk to the people that I thought would know more than I did.
So, good call.
Yeah, which is, that's kind of like a mastermind kind of thing. Yeah. Are you, so do you see any personal benefit coming to you in your career in having the channel and having, beyond like an income stream or something like that, but like when you do talk to experts or when you go out, you're actually going out and you do like a weekly, like this week in indie publishing kind of thing. Is that having a positive effect on your career?
It's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
I know that some of my fitness brand has taken a little bit of a dip because I haven't published any new work in well over a year.
Right.
And that's my own fault because I've focused so much on developing this stuff. So I just try to keep things afloat for my fitness brand through Amazon marketing services and Google AdWords, things like that. So I'm continuing to bring in traffic because I've got enough of a backlog that as long as I can, keep throwing a log on the fire, I can probably keep going on and on. I also have an assistant that helps manage my website as well as my email list, as well as a little bit of social media. So I can't really honestly tell you for a fact if my presence on YouTube as a self-publishing advocate, I don't like to say guru or expert because I'm farthest from being an expert. I think if I'm 20 or 30 years into this business, then you can call me an expert. But right now, I would just say I'm a self-publishing advocate. So it's really tough because here on one hand, I've got a fitness brand and people can easily find it through Dale L. Roberts. Okay, that's great. But there's a different audience when it comes to self-publishers. Right. And a vast majority of the people that I've met so far are fiction self-publishers. They're not thinking about, let me clean up my nutrition or let me do a great workout and get myself into great shape. Now, there is a small percentage of those people that probably are going over there. And there's also the other percentage of people that probably look at this and go, oh, what's the secret? Let me buy his book and I'll find out the secret. What's making things work? Trust me, I went through that myself. And no, I don't think the YouTube channel does much significance as far as raising that brand awareness. If I had it to do all over again, I probably would have focused on either doing a fitness YouTube channel so I could build that brand a lot quicker, or build that self-publishing brand through writing. That way, that would have grown bigger. I imagine in due time, I probably will produce some nonfiction books based on self-publishing and some of my experience, but it's nowhere near on my plate right now.
Right. Well, and you've got all the YouTube content that you could cannibalize for a book to make things a little easier. I mean, you've already done most of the work.
Yeah, actually, I have tons of scripts. I very rarely script anymore. The only thing I script these days are the reviews, because I want to make sure that I don't say anything improper or misquote somebody.
Right.
But for the most part, I try to close caption. And we're starting to go into like the YouTube territory, but I hire rev.com. That's rev.com. What they'll do is with the video content, it costs about $1 per minute. They'll go in and close caption all that. And the nice thing is they provide you with what's called an SRT file, which is where all the closed captioning is at.
Right.
And you can literally download that and turn it into a text file, and then convert that, copy and paste it over into a document and create it into a book. It would just take probably quite a bit of editing, but there's no easy editing.
Yeah, you're the second person to mention that to me. Joe Russo, one of the Joe and Kate Russo of We Are the Russos, has been on the show a couple of times now. He actually recommended that same trick, and it's actually got me to a point where I think I might try. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I've got my whole audio version of the podcast, like 150 plus episodes, right? And I don't have video for those. So I was thinking, well, maybe I could like create some sort of filler video or something, that plays over that. But I don't know why anyone would want to watch that. So I don't know what to do. But I was thinking I would do that just to grab the transcripts to make it easy to do transcription. But,
that's so true. And it's a brilliant way to do business. I mean, because you already, you had said in the interview with me on my channel, plug, that you literally wrote a short story while waiting in the line of a roller coaster.
Right.
And that speaks volumes about what you can do. Now, see, unfortunately, I don't have nimble fingers, so I couldn't. I'm not skilled enough. In fact, there's a good reason why I've got a stylist. And even then, the stylist doesn't really do me any good. So what I've done actually, and you'll love this, is there's actually the Google Voice on here. And I'll open up Google Docs on here and I will talk into it. And I literally, it's all you need to do is just get yourself trained to speaking articulate and really knowing, of course, you got to say punctuation, but knowing exactly the words and how to say them. And eventually when you start to edit these type of documents, you'll know, okay, when I say background, I need to make sure I really enunciate that. So that way Google Voice doesn't mess that up. But, that's one of the cool ways that you can do things. And then, the other way is just kind of like what we're saying here is record video or even do your audio and then just have somebody else do the closed captioning for you. Or even, Rev, I know, actually even does things beyond closed captioning. They actually will just provide you with a full transcript, because closed captioning will give you the timestamps and it's actually coded for video. Whereas if you just want to get a transcript, they'll do the transcript and you can, pull out all the timestamps and things like that. So this is a, cost-effective way if people are kind of on the fence about, well, I don't want to mess around with Dragon Naturally Speaking, or I don't want to mess around with Google Docs with the Google Voice thing. You can literally just get somebody to transcribe. In fact, I've actually got a book out. And it's called The Consummate Fitness Professional. I literally did that all through Blog Talk Radio. I just was broadcasting it for a few people. And I downloaded the MP3 files. I sent it over to a person on Fiverr. This has been a while. And I think all together, it cost me about $35 to get the full transcript done. I went in, took a little bit of time to do some editing, and bing, bang, boom. That thing pulls me in a few bucks per month. Nothing big, nothing to write home about. But it's enough to say, hey, look, let's go get a cup of coffees throughout the week here.
Well, I actually had pitched this idea several times to people over the years as a content strategy. But if you start with video, you can create hundreds of products from video interviews, for example, which is something I had intended to do. There's some overhead involved, right? And I think now it's actually a lot easier and a lot less expensive to do this. But start by doing a whole bunch of video interviews. get those transcribed, get the audio pulled from it. Now you can do a YouTube channel, a podcast, audiobooks. You can do textbooks, ebooks, and print books, that sort of thing. There's just no end. You can take that information, bend, fold, mutilate, mix and match. You know, if I interview 100 people and ask them a set of 20 different questions, now I've got 20 different lines of development I can follow. So if you want to put the time in, you could develop hundreds or thousands of products from one set of interviews.
Absolutely. You ain't too far off the mark. And something to kind of maybe bring a little bit more value here to that particular conversation here. Here's the really cool thing. Let's talk Amazon for just a second. We both know that they are the online juggernaut. They are an unstoppable force. And what Amazon wants, Amazon's going to get.
Right.
Here's the deal. We know that we can do Amazon Kindle. Okay. We know that we can do KDP paperback or even CreateSpace. We know we can do things like Audible or even any of those things. So there's 3 different ways to self-publish your work. You bring up a great valid point of video. Video is very much tapped into here, but the problem that we have is it's over here on YouTube, or it's over on Vimeo, or it's over on all these other different platforms. Here's the deal though. And not too many people realize over the last couple of years, Amazon snuck in something called Amazon Video Direct.
Right.
And here's the biggest opportunity that people have in front of them. This is how it works. It's essentially like Kindle Direct Publishing is to video.
Right.
It is Amazon's answer to YouTube. Here's the deal. You know how to index your stuff, okay? How to index your stuff is publish more work. You publish more work. I'm going to publish this. Dale L. Roberts brand goes up. I'm going to publish this ebook. I'm going to publish this paperback. I'm going to publish this audiobook. It's going to go up. Well, how else are we going to be able to do it? We can take that same brand and put video over on Amazon Video Direct. Here's the really beauty of it. And I'm going to just kind of really summarize Amazon Video Direct. There's about 4 ways to get paid. You can people can buy your video, they can rent your video, they can watch it free with ads, or they can watch it with Amazon Prime for free. I'll kind of jump past all this stuff. Let's just look at Amazon Prime for free, or even like the free with ads.
Right.
In the United States alone on .com, if somebody watches your content, for every hour streamed, you get roughly 15 cents per streamed hour. Not bad, right? So if you really start to pick up and you start to do really good, this is awesome. Now, I don't want to go too far down this path. There's a good reason why I want to do this, because we already know that there's 3 ways that we can be able to publish our books. Now we officially have a 4th way. We have a way that we can do it, and it really will work in favor of the nonfiction writer.
Right. Fiction,
you got to probably be a little bit more creative, be it a fireside reading of your book, or even hiring an illustrator to walk through it. Or even just sitting down and reading your chapter. You know, the sky's the limit on this one. Actually, there is no limitation. So we officially have 4 ways that we can do this and raise our brand on the Amazon, in the Amazon ethos, and start to really grow things. And I think that's probably one of the metrics I tested out most recently about, I would say 3-4 months ago. I posted up a handful of videos on green smoothies that was based on my book on green smoothies. Well, what'd you know? I started getting more purchases across my brand. It started to raise just a little bit. That's why I said, YouTube, I don't know that was, creating that, because there were so many other things that were going into play.
Right.
And that has raised the brand. So hopefully that helps you out just a little bit. And I didn't, dominate conversation on this one, but Amazon Video Direct, telling you, early adopters, the people that get in now, in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be big. Right now, Amazon Video Direct is like the Wild West was back when Kindle publishing was coming out, 7 or 8 years ago, where just pretty much everyone and their mother was putting they could smear poop on a piece of paper and then like become, a 10,000-aire,
Yeah. So do you think that platform is friendly to this type of content, like, interview format and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. A good friend of mine, Ben Gotthard, actually has already published quite a few of his interviews with other entrepreneurs. So he doesn't just focus on self-publishing like you and I do.
Right.
He focuses on entrepreneurial things. And what he did was he he tries to repurpose a lot of his content. He even took his interviews, turned them into book format, into audiobook format, into paperback format, and then he put them over on Amazon Video Direct and onto YouTube, which is completely okay right now, according to Amazon guidelines. And the big catch is you have to have closed captioning, but we already kind of discussed exactly how you can be able to get closed captioning. So Ben went through and painstakingly, rather than hiring out Rev or any other service, I think he went through and actually did the closed captioning through the YouTube's automated closed captioning, and then just went in and made corrections. Now, mind you, some of these interviews are about a half hour to an hour long,
right?
But he uploaded it. Now, I've never asked him financially how he's doing for it, because that's just kind of an awkward thing. Like, hey, you know, how much money are you making from that?
Right.
But it is definitely a great idea, you know, to break ground over there. And early adopters, I'm saying right now, early adopters are going to be handsomely rewarded over the next 5 years, because Amazon's serious. If they want to have competition against YouTube, they're going to do it. They went and bought Twitch for a ridiculous amount of money for a good reason. And I think that this is just the early signs of what they're going to do with Twitch to adopt it into their full system. And I think Amazon Video Direct is going to have some kind of hand in on the overall growth of the relationship between Twitch and Amazon.
That's pretty awesome. All right. Well, something to watch anyway. I'll be checking it out. And I kind of knew that was going to happen eventually. You know, I mean, Amazon had a video market of sorts. And so I think you're going to start seeing some interesting things happen. They're sort of also following some of Netflix's model of encouraging people to go out and create original programming, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few years. All right, man. We're at the end of time now, which is remarkable. But I do appreciate you taking the time to come back on, man. I know this is round 2 for us, but maybe I can save that original interview and make that some bonus content.
Excellent. That sounds good.
All right, man. Everybody else, thank you for hanging out with us, and definitely check out Dale. Where can people find you and your work?
People can find me at selfpublishingwithdale.com, or you can even go to YouTube and you just search up Self-Publishing with Dale, and you'll be able to see my pretty little mug against like a yellowish type background. Make sure you click that subscribe and turn your notifications on to get all my latest videos. I feel like I'm recording a video right now.
There you are. I was about to say, man, that has the intonation of something that has been well rehearsed. And so,
yes,
so
you wake me up out of dead sleep, and I'm just like, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. And like, my wife's like, what are you doing?
All right, everybody, you'll find links to that and more in the show notes, of course. And if you're on YouTube, well, I mean, you know, go immediately and find Dale's channel. And you can, by the way, subscribe and like this channel, hit the little bell icon as well. Just throwing that out there. If you're listening to us in audio, you're missing out. You need to go check out the YouTube channel. Go see our beautiful mugs. But at any rate, you're probably hearing the groovy bridge music right now. You may dance in place at will. I'll see you on the other side with some housekeeping and other notes. And thank you so much. Love each and every one of you. See you next time. Hey, welcome back. You stuck around. Thank you so much for sticking through that interview with Dale Roberts. I hope you got a lot out of that. I know I did. And I really appreciate you tuning in for the Wordslinger Podcast on YouTube. So this episode of the Wordslinger Podcast is sponsored in part by Draft2Digital, where you can convert your manuscript, choose from dozens of professional ebook and print layout options, and distribute your book to digital storefronts worldwide for free and get all the support you need the whole way. You can find out more at draft2digital.com. If you'd like to see more interviews like this one, make sure you hit the subscribe button. That will be down below. You can also hit that little bell icon so that you're notified anytime there's a new Wordslinger Podcast episode on YouTube. You can also tune into the audio version of Wordslinger Podcast. If you check me out on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere fine podcasts are streamed, you'll be able to subscribe to the show, catch up on back episodes, some of which are only available in the audio version of the show, so I hope you'll tune in. And be sure to rate and rank the show on iTunes if you get a chance. That helps a lot. You can also leave comments down below. I want to hear what you have to say. I'll be sure to answer everything that comes my way. If you have questions for me or for a guest, I'm happy to pass things along, so please do so. You can also follow me online if you'd like. You want to connect with me there. You can connect with me on Twitter At the Twitter handles there would be at WordslingerPod and at Kevin Tomlinson. You'll find links to those in the show notes below. You can also search for the Wordslinger Podcast and Kevin Tomlinson on Facebook, where you can connect with me and join all the fun there. And of course, you want to check out wordslingerpodcast.com. That's where we're going to have a growing community of, frankly, awesome indie authors and publishers. That's where all the real fun stuff is going to start happening. The website is going to get a revamp, I promise you. That's on the way. Has been for some time, but these things take time. What can I say? So check out wordslingerpodcast.com. Definitely reach out to me with your questions. You can also call the number that's been floating along the top of the screen this whole video and leave me a voicemail that I will play on the audio version of the show. Happy to do that. So thanks so much for that. That's it for this week. God bless each and every one of you. I appreciate you being around. Love all of you. Hope you're having a great time and a great and successful author career. And I hope I'm helping out. So take care of yourselves. I'll see you all next week.
Wordslinger.